Have you ever felt like fear is just sitting at the edge of your bed, waiting for you to open your eyes in the morning? And before we walk through this together, if you find some comfort here today, please consider subscribing to the channel so we can continue sharing these moments. It's a heavy, suffocating weight that seems to settle right on your chest before your feet even touch the floor. You haven't even started your day, yet your mind is already racing a million miles an hour, cataloging every possible thing that could go wrong. It's that invisible thief that steals your joy, your peace, and your presence. We try to dress it up, don't we? We call it stress, we call it being practical, we call it just being prepared for the worst. But deep down, in the quiet spaces where we can't hide from ourselves, we know exactly what it is. It is pure, paralyzing fear. It's the fear of failure, the fear of not being enough, the fear of losing the people we love, the fear of tomorrow. Sometimes it feels like you are walking on a tightrope in the pitch black, carrying the weight of the world on your back, terrified that one wrong step will send everything crashing down. And the hardest part is that you look around and everyone else seems perfectly fine. They are smiling, they are going to work, they are living their lives, while you feel like you are silently drowning in the middle of a crowded room. You want to scream for help, but the words just get caught in your throat. You wonder, how did I get here? How did I become so fragile? There is a distinct kind of pain in trying to hold everything together when you feel like you are falling apart inside. Think about those moments sitting in your car in the driveway after a long day. The engine is off, the world outside is quiet, and you just sit there, gripping the steering wheel, dreading the moment you have to walk through that front door and put the mask back on. You don't want your family to see the panic in your eyes. Maybe you look at your child sleeping, watching the gentle rise and fall of their chest, and instead of just feeling love, you feel a sudden gripping terror. Are you doing enough for them? Are you protecting them from a world that seems to be getting darker by the minute? Will your own hidden struggles somehow become their burdens? That kind of fear is a quiet agony. It isolates you. It convinces you that you are entirely alone in your struggle, and that nobody could possibly understand the labyrinth of worst-case scenarios your brain builds every single night. You lie awake at 3 a.m., staring at the ceiling, doing mental math with a bank account that never seems to stretch far enough, or replaying a conversation from 3 years ago, or waiting for a test result from the doctor. The darkness of the room just amplifies the darkness in your thoughts. You try to pray, but sometimes the fear is so loud that it drowns out your own internal voice. You just feel empty, exhausted. I know that feeling of hitting the absolute bottom, where the emotional fatigue is so heavy you physically ache. It's the moment you slide down the kitchen cabinet and just sit on the cold linoleum floor, crying tears that don't even make a sound. It's a profound brokenness. You realize in that stark, vulnerable moment that your own strength has completely run out. You have planned, you have worked, you have strategized, you have tried to control every variable in your life, and yet here you are, completely undone by the unpredictable nature of living. It is a terrifying realization when the illusion of control shatters. But there is a strange, paradoxical beauty hidden in that exact moment of surrender. When your hands are finally too tired to hold onto the wheel, they are finally open enough to receive something else. That is the exact moment when the ancient, enduring words of Psalm 23 stop being just a nice poem you heard in Sunday school and start becoming a desperate lifeline. The Lord is my shepherd, I lack nothing. Say that to yourself. Let it actually roll around in your mind. A shepherd doesn't just sit on a hill and watch the sheep from a distance. A shepherd lives with them. A shepherd smells like the sheep. He walks in the mud with them. When a sheep wanders off into a dangerous thicket, the shepherd doesn't just yell instructions from a mile away. He climbs down into the thorns, risking his own safety, to pull that wandering, frightened creature out. When you start to view God not as a distant CEO or a harsh judge waiting for you to mess up, but as a shepherd who is intimately involved in the gritty details of your survival, the landscape of your fear begins to shift. He leads you beside quiet waters. Why quiet waters? Because sheep are terrified of rushing water. Their wool is heavy, and if they fall into a fast current, they will drown. The shepherd knows their specific fears. He knows what makes them panic, so he alters the environment to give them peace. He finds the still places for them to drink. Think about your own life right now. What is the rushing water that is terrifying you? What is the circumstance that feels so turbulent and chaotic that you are afraid you're going to be swept away? The shepherd sees it. He knows your wool is heavy right now. He knows you are tired. He is actively working to lead you to a place of stillness, even if you can't see the path yet. He restores your soul, not just your circumstances, but your actual deeply bruised soul. And then comes the line that changes everything, the line that we have to cling to when the world goes dark. Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Notice what it doesn't say. It doesn't say, even though I avoid the darkest valley, or because I prayed hard enough, I was airlifted over the valley. No, it says through. We have to walk through it. The valley of the shadow of death, the valley of grief, the valley of financial ruin, the valley of a broken marriage, the valley of chronic illness. These valleys are real, and they are terrifying. The shadows are long and cold. But there is a profound truth about shadows that we completely forget when we are standing in them. A shadow cannot exist unless there is a light shining somewhere nearby. If everything was complete, absolute darkness, there would be no shadows. The very presence of a shadow in your valley proves that the light has not been extinguished, and you don't have to navigate that shadow alone, for you are with me. That is the anchor. If you truly believe that God is walking through this dark valley right beside you, fighting the battles you haven't even spoken out loud, just type Amen in the comments right now to claim that peace for your own life. It is easy to believe He is with you on the mountaintops when the sun is shining and everything is going your way. But the shepherd proves His worth in the valley. His rod and His staff, they comfort you. The rod is a weapon. It's used to beat back the predators, the wolves, the lions that are waiting in the darkness to devour the sheep. It represents God's authority and His aggressive protection over your life. He is fighting for you. The staff is the long stick with the crook at the end. It's used to gently hook a sheep by the neck and pull it back onto the path when it's stubbornly wandering toward the edge of a cliff. It represents His gentle correction and guidance. Comfort doesn't just mean a warm blanket and a cup of tea. True comfort comes from knowing that you are protected by something infinitely stronger than whatever is hunting you, and that you are guided by someone infinitely wiser than your own anxious mind. Then the imagery shifts completely. We are no longer out in the wild pastures. We are brought inside. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. This is perhaps one of the most audacious, incredible promises in the entire text. God doesn't wait until all your enemies are defeated, banished, and completely gone before He blesses you. He doesn't wait until the storm is over to give you peace. He sets up a banquet table right in the middle of the battlefield. Your enemies, the fear, the debt, the disease, the critics, the self-doubt, they are forced to stand there and watch, while God serves you a feast of His grace and provision. Imagine the supreme confidence of a God who sits you down for a meal while the arrows are flying overhead. He is essentially telling your fears, you cannot touch them, they belong to me, and they will eat in peace while you starve outside. He anoints your head with oil. In the ancient world, shepherds would pour oil over the heads of their sheep to keep the flies and parasites away. These insects would drive the sheep absolutely mad, burrowing into their ears and causing intense distress. The oil was a barrier, a healing balm that brought immediate relief. What are the flies buzzing around your head today? What are the nagging, irritating, relentless thoughts of anxiety that are driving you to distraction? God wants to pour the oil of His Holy Spirit over your mind, sealing you from the torment of those invading thoughts, soothing the scratches and wounds of the day. When your mind is anointed with that kind of peace, your cup overflows. You move from a mentality of scarcity to a mentality of absolute abundance. Fear thrives on scarcity. Fear tells you there isn't enough money, there isn't enough time, there isn't enough love, there isn't enough grace for your mistakes. But an overflowing cup mocks the very idea of scarcity. It says that not only do I have enough for my own survival, but I have so much of God's favor and peace that it is spilling over the edges onto everyone around me. And because of this overflowing reality, the way you look at the future fundamentally changes. Surely your goodness and love will follow me all the days of my life. The word for follow in the original Hebrew actually means to pursue, to chase down. Think about that. For most of your life, you have been chased by fear, chased by deadlines, chased by the pressure to perform, chased by the ghosts of your past mistakes. You are always running, always looking over your shoulder. But the shepherd flips the script. Now, the things chasing you are goodness and mercy. They are like two relentless sheepdogs, snapping at your heels, not to harm you, but to keep you on the path of blessing, refusing to let you be left behind. You don't have to manufacture goodness, it is hunting you down. You don't have to earn mercy, it is tracking you through every season of your life. When you fully grasp that goodness and mercy are acting as your rear guard, the need to control the narrative begins to dissolve. You start to see that the situations you thought were falling apart were actually falling into place. It's like looking at the back of a tapestry. From your perspective down here, all you see are messy, tangled threads, knotted and chaotic. It looks like a mistake. It looks chaotic. But the weaver sees the front. He is intentionally placing the dark threads of sorrow and the bright threads of joy to create a masterpiece that you cannot yet comprehend. Your job is not to understand the pattern while it is being woven. Your job is simply to trust the hands of the weaver. This level of trust requires a daily, sometimes hourly, active choice to surrender. It means waking up and saying, I do not know how this bill will be paid. I do not know how this relationship will be repaired. I do not know what the doctor will say tomorrow. But I know who holds my tomorrow. It is stepping into the void with the absolute certainty that your foot will either land on solid rock or you will be taught how to fly. Consider the sheer exhaustion of carrying resentment and fear hand in hand. Often, our fears are deeply rooted in the actions of others, how they have wronged us, how they might fail us, or how the system seems rigged against our progress. We hold on to these offenses like shields, thinking that if we stay angry, if we stay hypervigilant, we can protect ourselves from being hurt again. But resentment is just fear wearing a mask of armor. It is a heavy, rusted suit that slows you down and exhausts your spirit. When you realize that the shepherd is handling your defense, that he is the one preparing the table while your enemies watch, you can unbuckle that heavy armor. You can let the grudges fall to the floor. You don't have to defend your reputation. You don't have to plot your vindication. You just sit at the table and eat. You focus on the provision, not the opposition. This takes immense courage. It feels entirely counterintuitive to our survival instincts. Our instincts scream at us to fight, to run, to hoard, to panic. But there is a deeper rhythm to the universe, a rhythm established by the Creator. It's the rhythm of grace. Have you ever noticed how the most beautiful things in nature never rush, never panic? A mighty oak tree doesn't strive to grow. It simply absorbs the sun and the rain that is provided, trusting the soil. The sun doesn't stress about whether it will have enough energy to rise again. It just rises. You are held by the exact same force that holds the stars in place. Why do we believe that the God who orchestrates the galaxies would somehow fumble the details of our individual lives? It is a crisis of perspective. We zoom in so closely on the immediate problem, the angry email, the unexpected expense, the sudden symptom, that it fills our entire field of vision, blocking out the vast, infinite sky of God's providence. We have to learn to zoom out. Think about the story of a sailor caught in a violent storm at sea. If he looks only at the massive, terrifying waves crashing against the hull of the boat, he will lose his mind with fear. The waves represent chaos, destruction, the uncontrollable forces of the deep. But if he lifts his eyes to the horizon, to the fixed stars in the night sky, he finds his bearing. The stars do not change. The storm rages below, but the heavens remain perfectly still and sovereign. Psalm 23 is that fixed star. When the waves of anxiety are crashing over the bow of your mind, you have to force your eyes upward to the eternal truth. The Lord is my shepherd. That is the true north. It doesn't mean the boat won't rock. It doesn't mean you won't get wet. It means you will not sink, and you will reach the shore, because the one navigating the ship commands the very wind and waves. This realization begins to seep into the most mundane parts of your day. It changes how you stand in line at the grocery store. It changes how you respond to traffic. When you are no longer operating from a baseline of fear and scarcity, your heart softens. You start to see other people not as obstacles or threats, but as fellow wanderers who are also dealing with their own invisible storms. Your overflowing cup starts to spill onto them. A kind word to a tired cashier, patience with a distracted driver, a gentle response to a frustrated family member. These seem like small things, but they are profound acts of spiritual warfare. Every time you choose peace over panic, love over fear, patience over frustration, you are actively pushing back the darkness in this world. You are living out the reality of the anointing oil. And as the years go by, this continuous walk with the shepherd fundamentally alters your internal architecture. You look back at the things that used to keep you awake at night 5, 10 years ago, and you realize they were just shadows. The crises that felt like the end of the world were merely turning points, disguised as dead ends. God used the very things the enemy meant for your destruction as the raw materials for your development. The heartbreak taught you empathy. The failure taught you resilience. The delay taught you patience. You begin to understand that nothing is wasted in the economy of God. Every tear is counted, every struggle is leveraged to build the specific kind of strength you will need for the next chapter of your journey. You are not a victim of your circumstances. You are a student in the school of grace, and the shepherd is the master teacher. We often fear the future because we project our current weaknesses into unknown tomorrow. We think, I could never handle that loss, or I don't have the strength to face that challenge. And you know what? You are absolutely right. The you of today does not have the grace for tomorrow's problems. But God does not give tomorrow's grace today. He provides daily bread. When you finally arrive at the bridge you have been dreading, you will find that the shepherd is already standing there, holding exactly the amount of strength, wisdom, and peace you need to cross it. The fear is a liar, because it tells you that you will have to face the future alone and empty-handed. But the promise is that you will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Dwelling means abiding, staying, making your permanent residence in His presence. It means that wherever you go, whatever boardroom you walk into, whatever hospital room you sit in, whatever empty house you return to, you are bringing the sanctuary of God's presence with you. Think about what that actually means when you are sitting in the school pickup line, gripping the steering wheel because you just got an email that threw your entire week into chaos. You don't have to drive to a church building to find a sanctuary. The sanctuary is right there in the driver's seat. But the enemy of your soul wants to convince you that the sanctuary has been breached. He uses the subtle, silent weapon of comparison to make you feel like you are perpetually falling behind. You find yourself mindlessly scrolling through your phone in the doctor's waiting room, looking at everyone else's highlight reels, their thriving businesses, their seemingly flawless marriages, their perfect family vacations. And this quiet, insidious voice whispers, "You missed it. You messed up. Your best days are already behind you, and you will never catch up." That specific flavor of fear is devastating. It's the fear of irrelevance. The fear that you are somehow disqualified from the goodness of God because of a mistake you made a decade ago, or simply because you feel like you aren't doing enough to measure up right now. You walk into your workplace, or you log onto your computer to start your day, and you put on the heavy armor of competence. You smile, you nod, you answer the questions, but inside, you feel like an absolute fraud. You are terrified that on any given Tuesday, someone is going to pull back the curtain and see how utterly exhausted, overwhelmed, and clueless you actually feel. You are carrying this invisible, crushing backpack, filled with the rocks of impossible expectations, trying to be the perfect provider, the perfect parent, the perfect friend, the unshakable pillar of strength, and your knees are literally buckling under the weight. Your body keeps the score of all this hidden panic. You notice it in the ache in your jaw when you wake up, because you've been clenching your teeth all night. You notice it in the way your breathing gets suddenly shallow when the phone rings unexpectedly, or when you hear a specific tone of voice from your spouse. There is a profound, bone-deep physical exhaustion that comes from living in a state of constant low-grade alarm. I know there are moments when you just walk into the bathroom, turn on the shower so nobody in the house can hear you, and let the tears fall because you are just so deeply tired of being strong. You are exhausted from being the one everyone else relies on, the one who holds it all together, when inside you feel like you have absolutely nothing left to give. But what if your breaking point is exactly where the shepherd does his most profound work? We have bought into this toxic idea that we have to clean ourselves up, organize our lives, and conquer our anxiety before we are worthy to sit at the table God prepared. We subconsciously think he is frustrated by our fear. But look closely at the text again. He makes me lie down. Sometimes the shepherd has to lovingly, gently force the sheep to rest because they are too agitated, too anxious, and too stubborn to do it themselves. If you are feeling completely depleted right now, if your meticulously crafted plans have been entirely derailed, or if your physical body is breaking down and forcing you to halt, consider that this might not be a spiritual attack. It might be a divine rescue. It might be the shepherd pulling you out of the frantic, unsustainable pace of your life and whispering, "You are trying to carry a world I never asked you to hold." If you are carrying a weight today that you know in your heart you were never meant to carry alone, and you just desperately want to release it right here, right now, just type "Amen" in the comments. Let that be a small physical declaration, a digital stake in the ground, that you are finally handing over the heavy backpack to the one whose shoulders are actually broad enough to carry it. Let's look back at the shadows, because that is where the fear usually does its worst damage. We often assume the valley of the shadow of death only applies to literal, physical grieving, the devastating loss of someone we love. And while it is profoundly true and deeply comforting in those agonizing seasons, there are other types of death we are forced to walk through. There is the slow, agonizing death of a dream. That moment you wake up and realize that the career you sacrificed your 20s for is slipping through your fingers. The death of an expectation, when a marriage turns out to look nothing like the fairy tale you envisioned, or when a child chooses a path that shatters your heart into a million pieces. These are valleys of deep, suffocating grief too. You find yourself mourning the life you thought you were entitled to, the life you planned for. You are standing in the smoking ashes of what used to be your greatest hope, and fear stands right beside you, whispering, "This is it. This is how your story ends. You will never recover from this. You are going to stay in these ruins forever." But the shepherd is not intimidated by your ruins. He is a master builder who specializes in using shattered, broken pieces. When you are walking through the valley of the death of a dream, fear tries to blind you to the miraculous new thing God is cultivating in the dark, unglamorous soil of your disappointment. Think about how nature works. Seeds can only germinate in total darkness. The very dirt you think is burying you alive might actually be the exact soil needed to plant you for the next season. The problem is, the psychological process of being planted feels exactly the same as the process of being buried. It is pitch black. It is incredibly heavy. It feels profoundly isolating. You can't see the sun. You can't feel the warmth, and you definitely cannot see the progress. You just feel the crushing weight of the dirt on your chest. In that dark subterranean place, your mind plays cruel tricks on you. You start trying to negotiate your way out of the pain. You bargain with God. If I just pray more, if I just give more, if I just fix this one behavior, will you please take this anxiety away? You desperately search for a spiritual formula to manipulate the pain and make the fear disappear. But the shepherd doesn't offer formulas. He offers his presence. He doesn't drop a map from the sky to show you the 10-step exit strategy out of the valley. He offers himself as your guide. Have you ever noticed that when you are holding a little child's hand in a loud, crowded, terrifying place, they don't ask to see the blueprints of the building? They don't need to know the exact GPS coordinates of the exit. As long as they can physically feel the tight grip of their parent's hand, their central nervous system regulates. They stop crying. They are calm, even in the chaos. That is the exact invitation of Psalm 23. God is not handing you a 5-year plan to magically fix your bank account or instantly cure your illness. He is reaching out his hand in the pitch-black valley and saying, "Just hold on to me for the next 5 minutes. Just survive this hour. And when we get through this hour, I will give you the strength for the next one." To live like this requires us to radically, fundamentally alter our relationship with time itself. Fear is obsessed with the future. Fear builds a home in the what-ifs of tomorrow. What if the interest rates go higher? What if the medical test comes back positive? What if I end up completely alone? But the shepherd lives entirely and exclusively in the present tense. The Lord is my shepherd. Not was my shepherd yesterday. Not will be my shepherd next year. Is, right now, in this exact specific second. When you feel the familiar panic rising in your throat, violently dragging your mind into a terrifying imaginary future that hasn't even happened yet, you have to fight back by actively anchoring your mind to the present moment. You have to look down at your hands, feel the actual air filling your lungs, and tell yourself, right now, in this very second, I am breathing. Right now, I have a roof over my head. Right now, the shepherd is standing right beside me. You begin to realize that God's grace is only ever dispensed for the present moment. It is never given in advance. Think about the ancient story of the Israelites wandering in the desert. They were terrified of starving, so God provided manna, a miraculous bread that literally appeared on the ground every single morning. But there was a strict, non-negotiable rule. They could only gather enough for that one specific day. If they let their fear of tomorrow take over, and they tried to hoard the bread, hiding it in their tents to ensure they wouldn't starve the next week, the bread would literally rot and breed worms overnight. Why would God do that? Because he was aggressively, intentionally training them out of their toxic self-reliance and forcing them into a rhythm of daily, desperate dependence on him. We do the exact same thing with grace. We try to mentally hoard tomorrow's grace. We stay up all night trying to figure out how we're going to survive a hypothetical tragedy that might happen 6 months from now, and in doing so, we end up completely rotting our peace today. The paralyzing anxiety you feel in your chest is often just the psychological stench of trying to hoard grace for a situation that does not yet exist. The shepherd is gently asking you to drop the heavy, imaginary burdens of next year, next month, and even tomorrow, and just receive the manna for today. The meal he has prepared for you on that table, the one set right in the middle of your active battlefield, is hot, fresh, and perfectly portioned, specifically for whatever challenge you have to face before the sun goes down tonight. You pull out the chair, you sit down, you take a deep, trembling breath, and you look around at the faces of the enemies surrounding your table.
My child, before you go, please like this video, subscribe to this channel, turn on the bell icon, and comment if you believe I am guiding your life. May blessings follow you today.